Extraction, gas extractions in marine life. I am an architect. I'm studying in Italy at the moment, but I did my bachelor's in Lebanon. And this project is actually about Lebanon and about Lebanon's future as a gas extracting country, as it has been painted in the public imaginary recently, especially as it is still grappling with the problems of electricity and economic bad economic times. So basically, this project actually seeks to recontextualize this golden opportunity of gas extraction into something that is more realistic and something that is actually at a threat due to the neglect and pollution that we have been seeing in Lebanon for the past 30 years and more, and how the opportunity of gas extraction, what we see as an opportunity, might actually affect the marine life more deeply than we thought it might do, and how it might affect also other economic sectors which Lebanon currently relies on, such as the fish industry and the tourism industry. So basically, our project is a territorial mapping that we sought to do, and the final outcome is this pamphlet, which we will go through. Quadrant by quadrant, and it seeks to explain our research basically on the topic that I just mentioned. It is meant to be read in a circular motion, going from quadrant 1 to quadrant 4 in this circular manner, going from the most macro scale that we can find to the most micro scale, and actually explaining in the process how the pollution is generated and taken to the sea, basically, and how this affects all the aspects that is around it, and how it affects specifically marine life. We are interested in going from the source of the pollution to how it is going to how it is carried by the sea, and how we can actually prevent it at the end. So the first quadrant, which is at the bottom right, seeks to contextualize this project. So we started by overlaying at the time 3 maps. The first map being that of the biodiversity in the Lebanese Sea, which it's important to mention, we had to really dig very deep into the sources, as we have a problem with finding sources at the time. And we actually mapped there in a map that is inspired by lateral offices, the approximate location of each species along the Lebanese coast, and specifically we chose the species of fish that are relevant to the Lebanese economy, whether it should be, for example, in the tourism sector like sea turtles, or it could be in the fish markets, some of the main fish that we eat every day, and some of the main fish that actually in some cases we do export. The second map, which it is overlaid with, is actually a map showing the plankton diversity in the sea, which is, while it is less relevant, it's also important to mention that these are the planktons that a long time ago actually created the gas and the marine fields that we already see today. And we thought it's also important to know where they are located approximately, to know which quadrants, as you can see the sea quadrants in the map, which quadrants might be relevant in the future to protect. And in purple, we can see the current gas fields that are present. And basically, these 2 maps are overlaid together with a third map that shows, as you can see in the first quadrant, it shows the pollution along the Lebanese coast, and kind of seeks to contextualize this marine life with the high levels of pollution that we can observe along the coast. As we can see, the most of the coast is in dark pink, which shows the heavy pollution, and actually it is caused by, and some of the main causes that we can observe right at the coast, such as oil spills and some actually privatization of the sea. Along this map, we also decided to add the rivers, which will be relevant in the second quadrant, as I will talk in the next slide. But this first quadrant seeks to contextualize within the reader's perspective what we are tackling. So basically, we are tackling this sea life and its exact position within the gas extraction fields. So basically, in the next quadrant, we seek to actually look at the sources of pollution. Where does this pollution actually that reaches the sea and reaches the marine life comes from? And basically, in the we further add to the previous map, to the previous quadrant, two further maps showing Lebanon's pollution inland. And we can see that most of this pollution is actually created uh, by wastewater treatment and thermal power plant neglection, basically. As we can see, a lot of these facilities are located along the coast, and if we overlay this map as that we currently see with the map of the pollution, we can see that where there tends to be a power plant, there tends to be a higher level of pollution, and we wanted to bring this information to light as it is not commonly known actually that the power plants are causing a lot of pollution, but as well as the wastewater treatment plants are not completed and they are in very dire situations, and hence the wastewater is leaking into the sea and also creating pollution. And we can see actually these few main sources, as well as dense urban area and refugee crisis that we have been badly mismanaging in Lebanon, actually, which are all sources that actually lead to the pollution of the sea, and not only of the sea, but pollution inland that goes to the sea through the next map, that we decided to actually look at 8 rivers in Lebanon, because while we were doing our research, we actually found that the main pollutant of the that comes to the sea is not actually from these waste this mass management only, but also the rivers carry a big level of toxic products from the mountains to the sea. And this is why we decided in the third map that we wanted to highlight the level of toxins that we find in these rivers, basically. And we specifically chose the based on the toxins based on availability, but also the toxins that influence the aforementioned marine life the most, such as nitrate, phosphate, and sulfate. And you can actually see that in most of the rivers, the threshold of these contaminants is way higher than what is actually acceptable. And hence, the river is a main source of pollution that we do not always look at, but through this project, we wanted to actually sit and look at how we treat our rivers to basically like that are carrying the pollutants to the sea. We wanted also to further look to take this opportunity to further look at specific points within the river, specifically at the mouth of the river, which we will see later further explored. But these mouths of the river are often located in precarious positions that either allow it to be polluted and to transmit the pollutants very easily to the water, or there's actually a lack of management of the mouth of the river, which actually creates a big problem for the pollutants and for what otherwise might be a not so much polluted river, but because its mouth is very much unmanaged, it creates a big problem later in the sea. So, for example, we took 3 mouths of 3 rivers. For example, in the agricultural land, a lot of the time this mouth is not used and it's canalized and kept away from the agricultural land, which is a resource that could be actually exploited. Um, so basically, what we wanted to do after we looked at the rivers is through the third quadrant is to look at a case study of a specific river that is actually the river that transmits the most pollutants to the sea, which is the Beirut River and its case study. So basically, what we wanted to study how the neglect of this river happens exactly, and what are the processes that we can actually work to avoid um, in the management of this river. So basically, we started by looking from the very source that actually it starts quite good while it is in the mountain and it is very low in pollution. But actually, the more we get into the city, the more the land use around the river, as you can see, becomes more urbanized or more mixed for residential and agricultural use, the more the river actually becomes a tool instead of a tool to develop economically. It becomes a tool to it becomes a tool to be canalized and to actually separate to just we just want to cross the river and forget about it as soon as we can, so to speak. So it becomes actually a hazard to the people that are living around it, and this is why it needs to be canalized, so to speak. And actually, this canalization and the lack of management of the canalization of the river allows the residential neighborhoods to dump their waste in the river and to take it to the sea. But also, we wanted uh, to take this river that is in some locations, because we decided also to analyze it at 4 locations. In the mountain zone, we can see that this river is quite profitable for agricultural use. And the same river, while it is in the city, is actually separated from its context. The area around it even is removed of greenery. There is very few greenery around it. And actually, the mouth of the river is actually created as an industrial area with one waste management building that is not properly working. And we wanted to bring this to light basically as one reads the maps to see that the infrastructure is there. We have the proper infrastructure to actually clean this river that is really polluting our seas, but we are not we are not doing so due to mismanagement. And we have a lot of the mouth of the river, which is the most important part of it, is actually left unattended and unmanaged. Um, then finally, we wanted to circle back after going from the land to the river, and then from the river, how the pollution goes to the sea. We wanted to circle back to the actual oil extraction process itself, and how this mismanagement of our resources actually can translate into the installing the rig, for example, that goes from the very beginning, for example, of the process. For example, the process of installing the rig to extract the oil starts with a seismic study, then exploration, then the actual installation itself, and then the dismantling of the rig. And we actually followed through this process. What are the different factors that might disturb the marine life while if they are not managed properly, and what might actually be some of the key pollutants that are thrown into the sea. And we can see that the mismanaging can actually be very costly on our sea, because it can drain sewage water, it can put some sewage water in the sea, it can throw a lot of bacteria actually also, and this golden opportunity that we had will actually be a hazard to our sea that will destroy our marine life, basically. Finally, everything is put in one pamphlet that is meant to be read as shown, and I will show in the next slide how it is meant to be read. But on the back of the pamphlet, actually, once we went out and distributed this pamphlet, we actually wanted to conduct a survey to get people to think, not only to after reading all this process, to actually get them to think about what could be potential solutions for this. While some of the, and we actually took several surveys of several people from several fields, not only architects or professionals, but sometimes just people on the street. After looking at the map, we asked them what could be proper solutions for that you can see. And while a lot of them propose solutions that are not actually always feasible, or that are actually a professional, so to speak, we wanted to get people thinking of this issue that is very real and very near in our future. And we actually took some of the proposals and we decided to map them at the rear of the map, and to leave maybe a small link for people to actually propose their own solutions later and get them thinking about the topic. And finally, I just wanted to conclude with the final product, which was basically this pamphlet. It's quite a big pamphlet because the information is very detailed, that we went out and distributed along Beirut, and where we live, basically. And I wanted to end with some resources that we used for this study. And thank you for your time.